Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Gasification India 2021 Day 2 Waste to Energy Technical Sessions. We'll be starting with our next session, and the session is about development of biomass energy, financing, designing, constructing, and operating. This session highlights the development of biomass energy and understanding the major factors of success deployment of the energy generation unit, which is financing the project, designing the project, constructing, and further executing with high efficiency. So, to dive deeper into it, it's truly an honor to invite both the speakers, Mr. Ved Ratan Sinha, CEO Biomass Power, Sukhbir Agro. Thank you so much for being with us, sir. Also, I would like to introduce you to Colonel Sumit Malhan, SM retired CTO, PRESPL. So these two gentlemen are going to take you deeper into the development of biomass energy and all the verticals attached to it. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining in. I'll let you take over the screen now.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning, Raveen, and good morning, this Sumit.
Good morning, sir. So, Veti, would you like to present first, or
Yeah,
would you
you
like me to
start,
go?
sir.
I'll
You
start.
start.
Right, right. Fair enough. Is my presentation visible, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for this opportunity to uh, bring out the development of biomass energy. We are talking specifically with respect to financing, designing, construction, and operating. I'm Colonel Sumit Malan, and I'm the CTO of Prespel. This is how, in the next 40 minutes or so, I would be taking to the journey about, firstly, Prespel, which is one of the leading biomass energy companies of India. I will touch upon the challenges that the biomass energy development is facing, and we will also go through a project case study to find out about a successful project that we have undertaken. The journey of Prespel commenced in 2011, wherein we identified that the technology exists for usage of biomass energy to various formats. However, there was a challenge in the sourcing of the biomass, and the supply chain was an issue. With that thought process, the company was set in. From there, we have progressed, wherein we entered densification of the biomass to transfer it to larger distances. We have taken steam boiler O&M contracts. We have constructed some boot model projects ourselves, and we are now interested in the other aspects of biomass energy, like CBG projects. We have some marquee investors with us along the journey who have been part of the process: SBI, NEEV, Responsibility, Shell, and Mitsui. Prespel lives up to the Prime Minister's clarion call of Annadata se Urja Data, that is, from the farm to an energy giver, wherein we aggregate the agriculture residue that is left over by the farmers in the fields and utilize it as fuel for various energy sources. We are India's largest biomass supply chain company. We have a unique rural entrepreneurship model wherein we go down to the ground level and interact with the villagers, find out the entrepreneurs among them, and build upon this model for aggregation. There are vertically integrated operations, and Prespel is aligned to growth in the next generation biofuels. Some of the business verticals currently of the company: the start point and the backbone of the company remains the biomass fuel supply. This is only applicable for 25 to 30 to 40 kilometers, and beyond that, for transportation of biomass, it becomes unviable. So for that, the biomass needs to be densified. So Prespel sets up briquetting plants to move the biomass to larger distances of about 200 odd kilometers. While the biomass used to reach the clients, so the client's primary focus used to be on utility services, which was not their core business. So Prespel has off-taken this operation and maintenance of the boilers, and we are also doing the steam O&M model. At times, the asset of the boilers is taken on by Prespel, and that is where we have the build, own, operate, and transfer model. Like I said, we are aligned to the next generation of biofuels, exciting space to be in. CBG, biodiesel, bioethanol, SAF. We are looking at all of these very, very closely to move forward and integrate with our biomass fuel supply and densification projects. Having feet on the ground, we carry out biomass assessment studies, and this value adds to the entire fuel supply chain. Illustrious board of directors, who are all investor nominees from the investors, along with renowned names from the industry, oil and gas industry. The key management personnel of the company are primarily from the defense background. We like to think it brings about a bit of discipline in this unorganized sector. Prespel currently in the last 3-4 years has developed a pan-India footprint, making it the largest biomass company in the organized space in the country. Multiple projects are already executed or planned pan-India. The strength that Prespel derives in for the biomass sector is the pan-India supply chain. There is an award-winning business model, a committed professional team, experienced management, world-class investors, and meeting all the compliances of Pollution Control Board and EHSG norms. This is what the award-winning business model looks like, wherein when there is a confirmed offtake for the biomass, the village-level entrepreneurs are developed by the company. The biomass is collected, aggregated, and moved from the farms to the collection centers, where it is processed and thereafter transported to the clients for meeting the end user requirement of the industry. The advantages of biomass are tremendous. So they give us cost savings per year of nearly 30 to 40% over FO and CNG. There have been greenhouse gas carbon dioxide reductions. It's a carbon neutral fuel. Energy savings of nearly 10 to 15% have been proven against FO and CNG. Now coming down to the project proper, there are certain imperatives that any biomass energy project needs for its successful implementation. The first, of course, is the technology aspect, where the conversion of the biomass to the required energy format has to exist. This technology has to be financially viable for the conversion process. There has to be a strong fuel supply. We can have the technology, we can have financial viability. Without the supply chain team being in place and able to supply the quantum of fuel required per day, the energy project will not take off. Once we have all of this in place, the government policy will drive this to create a demand for which the project will then be implemented. So as far as the biomass demand is concerned, as we are aware, in the last 2-3 years, the sector has seen a big upswing, and these are some of the clients that Prespel has been able to onboard for biomass supply or O&M models or the BOOT models. And these are confirmed demands from the clients ranging from either yearly contracts or midterm from 2 to 5 year contracts or 10-year contracts as well. This has translated into steam supply of nearly 5.5 lakh metric tons per year and moving forward in a bigger way. The steam supply is possible of such a large quantity only due to the strong supply chain team that is in place supporting with the biomass requirements. To give an indication of the strength that is required for this kind of a figure, there were some 2G ethanol refineries which were coming up by the government of India, HPCL and BPCL, 2 lakh and 1.5 lakh metric tons per year. And Prespel was the L1 bidder, the only company to qualify internationally. Today, we are doing about 2 lakh metric tons of fuel, that is agriculture residue per year. The point to be highlighted here is many more such companies need to enter this space as the availability of biomass is manifold than what a single company is able to deliver. The strong supply chain starts from the fields itself, where the aggregation is done at the ground level. We don't depend on a third party to aggregate the biomass for us. When there is a confirmed demand, what happens is the team goes to the villages, interacts with the villagers, and explains to them what is required to be done to aggregate the biomass. Once we identify among these people entrepreneurs who can take forward this model, we train them and we equip them to take forward the biomass aggregation. Just to showcase one slide here, if you look at the top right, the photograph here is of a farmer who has been able to be associated with us in one of our plants for 1 year, and he has acquired a car and 2 tractors through this model. Prespel also assists these village level entrepreneurs by supplying equipment to them for the aggregation, which includes chippers, balers, trolleys. All of this Prespel provides if it is needed by the farmers. All the farmers in India have tractors. So the equipment is basically what we provide to them. The format of aggregation takes place in various forms, from camel carts, bullock carts, boleros, tractor trolleys. It depends on the geography of the location as to how the biomass is transported and reaches our collection centers. Once the fuel reaches the collection centers, it has to be stocked for a long period of time, and adequate precautions are taken to ensure the biomass retains its properties. Now, once the biomass is available, sometimes the industries are more than 150, 200 kilometers away from the collection centers. At that point of time, Prespel sets up bricketing plants where the biomass is densified and then fit for transportation over these larger distances. Some of these plants that we have put up are fully automated. A 50 tons per day plant at Ajanta, that is Maharashtra. We have a 100 tons per day plant at Haveri. This has 4 machines, as you can see, each producing approximately 25 metric tons per day. There's a 50 tons per day plant at Rampur Berry, that is in Rajasthan. All these bricketing plants have got different feedstocks of biomass, ranging from mustard husk to paddy straw to corn cob to cotton, depending on what biomass agriculture residue is available in that area. This is a 20 tons per day plant being set up currently in Goa, and the agreement has been signed with the Goa Energy Development Agency to set it up. Once the briquettes have been manufactured, we need to ensure that we have sustainable operations for 365 days in a year. And that is where the fuel stocking and planning for the stocking is very important to safeguard it against the vagaries of weather. The fuel storage moving forward closer to the clients has got an intermediate briquette storage, which has anything from 1 month to 2 months of storage, as well as a site storage at the client location where the briquettes are going to be used. And this is ranging from 5 to 7 days of immediate storage at site. It is very important, biomass being a combustible fuel, and like all fuels, we need to take care of it. So regular EHS and safety audits are carried out at all the briquetting plants to ensure the safety of this fuel. Coming down to the steam supply on BOOT basis, these are the projects wherein the capital investment is put in by Prespel. The asset is held on the books of Prespel, and the complete EPC of the project is undertaken by our teams. We ensure uninterrupted biomass supply for 365 days in a year, and comprehensive operation maintenance services are also carried out. We have competent and skilled operation and maintenance teams for these projects, trained by the OEMs. All statutory compliances and ESG norms are met by the members. A proficient ash handling service is undertaken where PCB norms are followed for disposing of the ash, and only the best environment-friendly technology is incorporated into the projects. The benefits of the BOOT model are assured uninterrupted steam supply at pre-decided rates for 10 years, which also insulates the client from biomass price fluctuations during the off-season. There is no upfront working capital utilization required by the client for storage of this biomass, and there is no involvement in the biomass procurement and day-to-day quality checks for the fuel. Taking the case study of a BOOT project set up by Prespel at Sun Pharma, Tonsa. The highlights of this project was it is a 100% biomass-based steam plant located at Tonsa, Ropar, Punjab. The options of fuel are biomass, loose biomass, or we can have densified briquettes as options. It is the first of its kind plant in India where multiple agri-residue fuel can be utilized at one point of time. If you look at the photograph there, we have 4 different types of fuels visible in this immediate storage shed next to the boiler facility. Some highlights of this project are it was a capex model where 15 crore was spent by Prespel. The project was completed in a record 11 months despite many engineering and situation challenges. So we had floods in Punjab which are unprecedented, and despite two such kind of floods, the project was timely completed on 20th of March, and this was 4 days before the national lockdown for COVID. The strength of the project can be seen from the fact that 100% availability of the boiler was given during the lockdown phase, even though the project was commissioned just 4 days before the lockdown. The linkages for setting up a project of this kind are thus: we have a boiler design which is based on the feedstock, and the OEM carries out the boiler design. Now, for that, the feedstock assessment is done by Prespel, wherein we carry out biomass assessment studies on ground to find out which is the type of agriculture residue available, what is the quantity, and what is the quality of it to supply it to the OEM to design the boiler. Once the boiler design has been completed, the project EPC is taken on by Prespel for deliverance of this project. Simultaneously, while we have 8 months, 10 months to 1 year to set up the project, we also need to set up the supply chain management team simultaneously, where we set up collection centers and briquetting plants close to the site of the boiler to ensure uninterrupted supply once the boiler starts. Once the project is commissioned, the operation and maintenance are also carried out by the team. So this is how the collection centers are set up. While the boiler EPC is going on, we need to simultaneously carry out supply chain activities. The briquetting plant for this project was also set up. It's the first of its kind fully automated plant. It was inaugurated by the Chief Minister of Punjab, Captain Amrinder Singh, on Friday, 18 December 2020. The technology used in this plant is the latest, best in the world technology. It's a dynamic step grade boiler technology meeting all stringent pollution control norms. The EPC of this boiler was carried out from scratch. It was a greenfield project, and it was completed in a record time of 11 months with the entire EPC done in-house along with the OEM team. This is a fully automated plant wherein the fuel storage yard is located adjacent to the boiler house. The fuel is pumped into the moving floor, which has residual time of 4 to 6 hours of biomass availability. It moves through the furnace, and the steam is produced in the boiler drum. The flue gases move through the pollution control devices and move out through the stack, which is monitored directly by the PCB to ensure that all PCB compliances and norms are met. Now, as you can see in this operation, it's a fully automated process. We have somebody to fill in the fuel with a tractor and a gentleman sitting as an operator in the control room monitoring all these activities. Beyond this, you require people only for normal maintenance, but for all the operations, it's a fully automated process controlled from the control room inside the boiler house. The preventive maintenance is very important in biomass plants. Otherwise, biomass as a fuel can cause choking of the boiler if not properly attended to. The ash handling that Prespel undertakes is in a very scientific manner. We have tie-ups with brick manufacturers who offtake this ash, which is transported from our facility to the ash handling premises in a trolley specifically designed to ensure that the ash does not spill out. Some of the experiences of this particular project. So we had a challenge of loose biomass fuel, which we overcame using this fuel handling system, and we have been able to stabilize the plant and carry out smooth operations. The Prespel business model of biomass supply chain has been validated, wherein the operations commenced 4 days before the lockdown, as I brought out, and we have been able to ensure uptimes of more than 97% to the client. The technology it is now a clean technology on par with the CNG and the FO fired boilers, and you can sit inside a boiler house and can eat food there. This is possible due to the efficient housekeeping being carried out. So as you can see from these photographs, the earlier concept which was there, or the misconception in people's minds about the biomass boilers being dirty and not properly maintained, we are able to maintain this kind of a standard in the boiler houses 365 days in a year. The socio-economic aspects that this project incorporates, it is a distributed renewable energy project and can be set up anywhere in the country. India is an agrarian society. Biomass is available everywhere. So we can set up a project of this kind potentially anywhere in the country. There are numerous environmental and health benefits which accrue. The project empowers farmers for sowing for the second crop. As we pick up the agriculture residue, he does not have to burn it, and he also gets an additional income for the biomass which earlier was just dead stock for him. This kind of a project promotes entrepreneurship among the local villagers and also financial inclusions, because here what we typically do is the bank accounts opened by the government for the farmers, we are paying money directly through the digital transactions into their bank accounts. So the vision of the government for financial inclusion is also assisted by this kind of a project. Now it's very interesting to note that this Sun Pharma Tonsa project by itself has pumped in about 10 crore rupees back into the economy, making it a circular economy. Projects of this kind also offer equal opportunities. We have women on the staff, whether they be at the head offices or they be at briquetting plant sites, we are able to have gender equality maintained. Now, project finance is very, very important for any kind of project which is taking off, especially in the biomass business. Now, typically, there were very few institutions which were coming forward to offer finance to the biomass sector. The kind of finance is required, as we are aware, we require term loans for the EPC of the project. We require huge working capital, which is required during the short season for kind of aggregation. The farmer financing is required, and certain grants and aids are also given by the various stakeholders. Today, we are very happy to say that we have some partner financial institutions who have stepped forward and are looking at the sunrise sector differently. So we had Caspian, IREDA, World Bank through SIDBI, HDFC, DFC through HSBC. These are all partnering our projects in various forms and giving the financial lending to us. So for the BOOT projects, wherein we build, own, operate, and transport the client these projects on long term, the term loan facility had been extended to the project through IREDA. So one of the projects on the left side was a Sun Pharma project, which I just showed you, where we'd taken a term loan of nearly 7 crore at an interest rate of nearly 12% for 9 years. And IREDA for the other project of mine, for a smaller project, gave 2 crore of loan at about 11.45%. Now, what one would like to highlight here is we have been able to reduce this cost of money to nearly 9%, 8.5 to 9%, by getting a loan through the World Bank through SIDBI, wherein they have also extended a partial risk sharing facility at 75% of the risk, and that is assisted in these projects being more cost efficient. How we've been able to do that? We have been able to showcase these as energy efficient biomass projects. So Prespel carried out a comparison on furnace oil and CNG fired boilers versus biomass fired boilers, using this analogy of sourcing to consumption. There's a concept of energy return on investment, and this was used to benchmark the energy consumption being used in the boilers. We were able to showcase an energy saving of 12 to 15% by using biomass over these other types of boilers. Once this was showcased, Prespel was also able to obtain a grading, and today we are an energy saving company, an ESCO company with a grade 4. Because of all these activities that we were able to go through, we were able to get this World Bank PRSF loan through SIDBI, thus reducing the cost of money. Now, to highlight other improvements in finance as well, these are the financial institutions which have assisted these projects over a period of time. And as we can see, the cost of interest has kept coming down. So we had a term loan from Caspian initially, which was at a 14% rate of interest. And today we are able to get a term loan at 7.85% rate of interest. The working capital started off from IREDA at 11.45% interest, and today we are able to get working capital in the range of 7.85 to 8.5% interest. And we are also able to get farm financing using the good offices of the banks to get finance for the farmers who assist us with this agriculture residue at 6.5%. Now, all of this is driven by the strong policy advocacy because Prespel has made efforts for the biomass usage in this sector to be taken up. We had a validation done by a third-party independent audit, an ERM, wherein for one of our clients, we were going to get the contract only if we were able to prove carbon neutrality. And in this, the audit carried out showcased that for every 1,800 metric tons of biomass fuel for the project which we were going to use, there was approximately 1,200 metric tons of carbon dioxide reduction. This was a major step bringing out the carbon neutrality of these projects. A lot of effort was put in. Earlier, biomass to electricity was quantified as renewable energy, but on 23rd of July 2019, MNRE has published a letter wherein even biomass to steam energy has been classified as renewable energy. This was a very important step to ensure most of the steam industry now is looking forward to taking biomass as part of their projects. Prespel has also set up the Confederation of Biomass Energy Industry of India. It has been a leading limelight here, which is CBEII, is an apex body representing all stakeholders of the biomass industry. CBII represents members with all policymakers, regulators, etc. Some senior industry leaders are part of the governing council and executive committee and directing the processes of CBEII. This was set up by the idea of Lieutenant Colonel Monish Ahuja, as CMD Prespel, who is the founder and chairman of CBII. The impact that Prespel has been able to make in this sector, the biomass utilized by Prespel as of today is nearly 2 lakh metric tons per year. This is translating into a greenhouse gas reduction of 1.5 lakh tons of carbon dioxide equivalent, and we have pumped back 80 crore rupees into the circular economy. These are the numerous awards that for this work that the company has been able to garner, with the most recent award being the World Sustainability Award for Most Sustainable Green Organization, given on 23rd of November 2021. I have finished. Thank you. Jai Hind. Should there be any questions, I can take them on.
Colonel, there is a question. I'll just pop it on the screen so that you can see it. There you go.
The question which I can see from here is, what are typical feed biomass cost per ton at the picketing plant gate? So it's a very interesting question asked by Swetang Mishra ji. So ultimately, it depends on the type of biomass that you're looking for. So like I mentioned, the biomass is varying from geography to geography. If you look at Punjab, you may get paddy straw. If you look at Maharashtra, you may get cotton straw. If you look at Karnataka, you may get corn cob. So across the country, depending on the type of agriculture being practiced there, the feedstock is going to be different. There is no typical costing for generic usage that you can take. But if I was to put in a figure to this biomass cost, the delivered price at the briquetting plant gate could be anything from 1,500 to 2,500 rupees as a yardstick. However, one must keep in mind that if you are going to be holding this biomass, there are numerous associated costs which go into also holding the stock on ground, maintaining the stock and looking after it. So one size does not fit all here. The second question I'm getting is, how much netback do farmers get per ton? Again, depending on the kind of feedstock, you can say per ton anything from 200 to 400 to 500 rupees may be a part of the feedback that the farmer gets. I hope I've been able to answer that question. Should there be anything further, I can happily take on.
I have one question here from Mr. Siddharth Pandya. Mr. Pandya, you can put up your question, please. Unmute yourself, Mr. Pandya, and then you can ask the question.
It is excellent business model. Congrats for nicely presented, nicely narrated the whole story.
Thank you, sir.
Is you have restricted your business model or business in certain area, or you want to you have expansion across the India?
So we are pan-India company, sir. We started off from Punjab initially. That's why the name is Punjab Renewable Energy Systems. Otherwise, today we are a pan-India company with presence in more than about 10 states today.
Oh, in Gujarat itself also?
Yes, sir. Gujarat also. We are setting up facilities there, sir.
Set it up. Okay. We will be in touch with you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Please do.
Thank you, Mr. Pandya. And of course, Colonel, thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. So I'll ask you to stick around while I invite Mr. Sinha to present. And after that, we might have some questions for both of you from the audiences. So once again, thank you. And Mr. Sinha, I'll invite you to the stage now.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. So that was a very fantastic presentation done by my colleague, Mr. Sumit, and we are associated in the same line, and we were discussing the same thing, and in many forums also, and remarkable job done by this PSPL system and their team, Mr. Monish Ojaji. And so I'll start my presentation on that. Just a moment, I'm trying to share my...
No problem, sir. In the meantime, Mr. Sinha is getting ready to share his presentation. I would remind all of you, if you have any questions, you can either type them in the chat box right here. There is an option for Q&A as well, dedicated. You can do that. If you want to ask a question face to face, you can raise your hand and we will pull you up on the screen whenever visible after the presentation of the gentleman. Do you need any assistance, Mr. Sinha? Okay, great.
Are you able to see my presentation?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Welcome to Gasification India and Biomass to Power Energy 2021. And I especially written the word biomass in place of waste to energy because I was uncomfortable with the word of waste. So that's why I use this biomass to power. So this is the right word because biomass is a gold for us, and this is a, we can say, the gold mines for us. And in the way we are doing and the way the central government and all the this associations are doing is a fantastic, and that's why I've changed that one. Okay. And this is our site, one of the site, and this is we are generating the power with the help of our biomass. And just I'm introducing myself. I'm heading this biomass division. In case of SAIL Limited or that we have five verticals are there, out of which there's a rice milling plant is there, and second is we have a largest rice milling plant in the our UP, that is in Shahjahanpur, that is 150 tons per hour rice milling is there. And second vertical is our solar power plants, and we are installing our solar power plants in all over the India. Nearly we have covered 20 states of the India, and this we are establishing our solar manufacturing plant in our Punjab, that is in Firozpur plant, and the capacity of the that plant is 100 megawatt. Of that capacity, we will be able to generate the 100 megawatt power plant in a month. So that is our that is going to commission in the month of March. And third verticals is that our warehousing division, and we have 5 million tons of warehousing, and that we are given this warehousing storage to government of India, so that they are storing the different grains on the different state, and especially in the north area, this Punjab, Haryana, UP, this area. And then fourth one is our this biomass, and which I'm heading, and fifth is we are in the edible oil. So I'm just concentrating on the my biomass verticals, and our group is nearly 4,000 crores turnover group is there, and we are very aggressively working on this biomass sector. And at present, we have our four plants are running. That is three plants in the Punjab. One is in Firozpur, having 18 megawatt power plant. That is 100% rice straw basis. And the second one is that is a Faridkot. That is also 18 megawatt, 100% rice straw basis. And one power plant is near to Bhatinda. That is a 14.5 megawatt. That is a mixed type of biomass is there. We can use that rice straw and different biomass also. And one plant is running in that UP, that is in Gazipur, that is 15 megawatt biomass power plant, and that is associated with different biomass and associated with the rice plant. And two plants are under commissioning, that is in the Haryana, that is a 15 megawatt each, that is also 100% rice straw, and that is expected to that one. So now I come to that biomass next slide, which that is a major stakeholders in the biomass development. There's a very important part for the development of the biomass. That is main coordinator is MNRA, and that MNRA and state government and nodal agencies are there. That is coordinating all these things for that development of the biomass projects, and in form of different bio CNG, bio thermal power plants, or that different your gasification also. And this and then is your state utilities boards are required, and then uh, financial institutions are required, and research institutions are required, and different promoters are required for the in that one for the development of the complete biomass project. And the main thing is the integration of these all different institutions and different stakeholders. And if there is a good coordination with the stakeholders, definitely it will be very smoothly this system is on works on that front. And otherwise it is getting a lot of problems for the after the establishment of that one. So these stakeholders are very much required on that one. And this is a brief diagram of that one. If I take that biomass in the two types, if you take the rice is a rice husk, and second is the rice straw. We can process the rice husk in the form of energy or non-energy. So if you go with the energy side, then we can have a heat and power, and then as a fuel we can use. By making that fuel, you can make a briquette, you can ethanol and butanol, and different things can be generated with the fuel. You can use in the solid fuel as for that, and Syngas can be there. If you go with the non-energy side, then agriculturals are there. But that animal production, for that we can utilize the carbonation we can use, and the industrial and other uses can be used for that. And if you go with the rice straw, because earlier all the boilers in the Indian industry they are using husk as a fuel, and in the technology available in the Indian market is basically in the form of husk and in the different solid fuels. But that you can say in the Indian market, the different technologies are there. That is ABC type boilers, ABC boiler, traveling grade, and this pulsating grade, dumping grade. So basically, it is in the range of different husk or some in the form of 1 inches to 2 inches fuels are there. And but if you come to that one in the rice straw, because rice straw length is varying from you can say that 1 feet to 2 feet also. So that straw form, and to use a straw in a directly, that is a totally different types of uh, mm, systems are required for that. Just like rice straw, we have to do for the pre-treatment, then processing and the product, and then we can make energy. So by means of that we can convert this straw into that heat, gas, liquid fuel, char, biogas, ethanol, and all this thing. So straw is a very typical fuel, and in the what I can say in the Indian context, this we are lacking in the right technology of that one. By means of that, we are facing a lot of problems, especially in the availability of the plant, and then as well as in the and the PLF of the plant. And because if you are going with the rice straw, especially rice straw, then this season available for the rice straw storage is hardly 35 to 45 days on is there, and you have to store this rice straw for the whole year. And for that you have to take the land, and you have to take that and then you have to preserve it, and then you have to feed throughout the year. A lot of challenges are there, and that has to be taken care properly to have a proper PLF and proper ability of the system. So this is a biomass fuel for the power generation. What I can say that India has a tremendous potential for the power generation toward the biomass energy. The current availability of the biomass in India is estimated around 500 million metric tons of this biomass. But what we can say, there's a surplus biomass availability is estimated about 200 to 225 million metric tons of uh, per annum, covering the agricultural as well as the forestry residue, corresponding to a potential of 23,000 megawatt power generation, which is nearly 15% of the total power demand of the India. India is having a maximum power demand is nearly 2 lakhs megawatt, out of which we can generate 23 megawatt power from our this agricultural waste and this biomass. So just I'm sharing one case study. If for us that is zero point 0.2 million tons or 2 lakhs tons of the biomass is required for 15 to 20 megawatt capacity biomass based power plant. Okay, this zero point 0.2 million tons of biomass covers 1 to 3 lakhs acre agricultural land to avoid burning of the same. If we are setting up one power plant of 15 to 20 megawatt, and that is covering nearly 1 lakh to 3 lakhs of agricultural land of that one, because that agricultural burning can be avoided by setting up of one power plant. And if you are setting up the power plant with this type of biomass using a in a raw form, that is a straw form, and that is directly fitting to the boiler, and that is burning into the boiler, and that is converting directly into heat and the power. So there is a no in between process for the that financial part addition of that one. So we can utilize that heat value directly into the power. If you are adding some process for converting to some solid fuels or some types of in different anaerobic system for making of gas, bio-CNGs, and different form of that one conversion, and then you are adding unnecessary cost to that one, and then and finally it has to burn in the system. So it is better to have direct usage of that biomass in the any process, either in the power plant. Maybe some cement industries are there; they are using that biomass, and in the form of that one, that system should be there to avoid unnecessary financial loss to the system. So that will be a reliable system, and it will be a long proven system also. And India should have this is my suggestion from that. India should have at least 2 to 3 numbers of biomass power plant having a capacity of 15 to 20 megawatt per district of India, which will generate 23,000 megawatt biomass power. That is a green power, neutral power. So this will generate new rural local employment of more than 1 lakh, and this income will give direct benefit to the Indian farmers. So one side we are utilizing this biomass for the power generation, other side we are empowering our Indian farmers also, and that local farmers, rural farmers will get this employment throughout the year, and they will get this value of that one of their biomass, whatever in pan India, different biomass are there, just as this Sumit has already given in their this speech. So that will be additional income to the farmer, and that if earlier I had told you that the 15% of the total power demand can be generated by this one in the biomass. In the same times, we will reduce minimum 15% of the solid fuel requirement of the India. So biomass will be directly converted into power. There is no need of conversion cost of biomass to any form, yeah, briquetting or bio-CNG and gasification of that one. And challenges with the Indian boiler, biomass-based boilers are there. Availability of the Indian boilers are nearly in the range of 70 to 80% percentage is there, uh, while European boilers are in the range of 92%. And is basically and mainly due to lack of right technology usage for the right biomass. That is the main reason for that. And power plant load factor PLF, you can say, in the nearly 65 to 80% against the European PLF of 90%. Main reason for the low boiler availability and PLF are non-proper designing of boiler, non-proper selection of material of construction, size of boiler, vendor selection. European boilers sizes are nearly double heating surface area than the Indian boilers, especially because we are in developing country. So our capital cost is most important thing for any projects, especially what I'm talking about, this 15 megawatt to 20 megawatt or 10 megawatt also, and that range IPPs or some CPPs are there, and different small SMEs are there. So that capital cost is very pinching to everyone of that one. So for that, uh, that is our bad luck, that we are not using the right technology for the sustainability of the system. We are cutting the cost in terms of reliability and availability of the system, and that is the main reason in the maximum biomass power plant in the previous you can say in the last 10 years there were a lot of NPAs were there, and that the main reason for that is only due to non-selection of that right technology and the right selection of the biomass and then usage of that one. So that has to be corrected immediately for that have to tap this very high potential of 23,000 megawatt power. Non-proper understanding of the fuel characteristics and its repercussions. Main components are ash deformation temperature, alkali content, corrosive contents, and their behavior in high temperature zone as well as in the low temperature zones. Because if the biomass is not properly analyzed in the typical parameters, then definitely it's going to create problem in the operation of that plant, and there is availability of plant and the different cost inflation also. That is going to result in the failure of the pressure part, especially in super triangles, economizer, water walls, and all other pressure parts. And then not proper thermodynamic of the buffer for the proper combustion of fuel and heat absorption also. So many Indian boiler manufacturers are trying to do their best to get rid of all these problems, and then still we are struggling on that phase. But in other case, what we are doing, we are working with that our European vendors, and then with the help of that, and we are installing two boilers of the easy boilers in our Punjab, that is Thyssen based, and the BW was the main technologies provider. So we are working on the right technology with the right selection of the material and all the sizing of the boiler, and that European boilers are running from last 30 years. They have a very good exposure on the biomass segment, and they are going for the art of technology and best of technology, and we have very good tie-up with that. With them, and we are strongly working with the PwC and the Denmark, and the two boilers are in the pipeline, which is going to commission very soon. We are expecting second week of the December and the 2021, so that will be functioning. Already we are running 4 boilers in our system, and we are consuming nearly at present we are consuming nearly 7 million ton of biomass in a year in our 4 running plants, and this 2 will be running within 1 month, so we'll be in the range of 10 million tons of that one. If I take that is in the Punjab or Haryana, that is contributing nearly 25 million tons of these rice straw. Especially I'm talking about the rice straw, because all other straws are good for the agricultural the animal for that. For if the rice straw for the Punjab or Haryana, I'm taking that is coming out to 25 million tons. So out of which there's a very good potential on that one. So to utilize that one. So that is going to give very good boost to other uses also. And the last point is that the Indian boiler mass challenges are there: overloading and unloading operation of the boilers. Especially we are running that, if you are running the underloading of the boiler, then that is going to give the problem in the boiler pressure part operation, and overloading also. So a lot of problems will get to the overloading of the boiler, and that is that will create the failure of the boiler. I'm just taking one example of that one. That is low grade metal usage failure in the water. Low grade failure due to some carbon tube in place of a less tube, which is resulting in the erosion failure. During designing of the biomass boiler, tube MOC has to be selected as per the chemical combustion of the fuel. Otherwise, it will directly affect the failure of the boiler pressure part and then lower PLF. You can see where erosion was there. Due to that, ash content is varying from 15 to 18% of that one. And this is a second failure. There is a high temperature oxidation and burning of the superheated tubes. This failure of the radiant superheaters is mainly due to high temperature oxygen burning at penthouse area. It is purely oversizing superheater designing, which is resulting in a low steam flow and burning of the superheater. This is condition of the highest available grade of the SS, which is A312 TP47H. During designing of the biomass boiler, proper sealing expansion burning has to be done, else it will directly affect the failure of the boiler pressure part. Then and requirement will be increased during the and rapid lower than PL of our boiler. Chemical corrosion on the superior tubes. This chloride and the sulfur. This is the condition of the highest available grade of the SS, again 347H. During the designing of the biomass boiler, sufficient thickness alone has to be taken care as per the chemical combustion of the fuel. Otherwise, it will directly affect the failure of the boiler pressure part and the lower tube. You can see very well there is an external corrosion is there in the tube, and there is a failure on that one. So that selection is very much required, because in Indian context we are, if you are not selecting properly, not maintaining the different parameters of the boiler, not running the boiler in the design parameter, then definitely this type of failure will be there, and we have to have this outages on that one. And now I come to the advantages of the biomass fuel. Biomass is a widely available source of the energy. Second, it is renewable source of the energy and carbon neutral, which helps in the cleanliness of the environment. It is comparatively lesser polluting, generating energy, helps climate change by reducing GHG. Waste minimization reduces pollution and spread of the diseases. Open and unclean burning leads to pollution. It provides manure for the agriculture and gardens and reduces the dependency on fossil fuels for the electricity generation. So this is our plant, and there's a different location I already discussed with you. We are already two plants are commissioned, and that is one is from Punjab, that is nearly Batinda, 2009, and Firozpur plant is already open. And I'm just sharing different plants picture so that you can visualize how the biomass plants are looking like that. So there's a 14.5 megawatt Muxta plant is there. That's near to Bhatinda. Second was the Gajipur UP plant, 14 megawatt plant is there. There's a 100% that European Danish plant is there. And this is a Faridkot plant, again 18 megawatt, 100% rice straw plant is there. You can see very well the greenery and the art of technology of that. Our this turbine is from Siemens, and we are use the different water chemistry from the ion exchange, Thermex, and everywhere. And this is the Haryana projects what we are under commissioning stage. There's our two plants are there. One is a 15 megawatt plant, Kurukshetra, Haryana. You can see that it is running nearly in the commissioning stage. We have completed 3 stage of that one, and which is the final stage of the commissioning. And this is our Cathal plant. This you can see that ball is operating, and that steam blowing is going on. And this is a biomass 100%, again 100% rice straw biomass, and this is supplied by BWSC and SJ. And these two plants are there. And new projects are, we are started new projects. That is a Jalkhedi. There's 10 megawatt power plant is there. Already we started dismantling of the old boiler, 30 years old BHA boiler, and we are installing new boiler of new art technology, and that will be commissioned in the next year, in the same month nearly. And our 6 more 15 megawatt biomass projects are coming in the Rajasthan. So we are very aggressive working on that biomass sector, and this some lists are there. And just this, I'm trying to tell you about the the Rankine cycle of that one, the basic cycle, which is power plants are running on that one, in which boilers are there and turbines are there, condenser, cooling tower, and this different heaters and pumps are there. This is the basic cycle of that one. And different pros and cons of that parity straw is there. So pros, we can say the renewable source of energy and waste reduction is there, and reliability is there. Cons is the cost is high, because that if you want to have a reliable system, then definitely you have to use the right technology, and that you have to pay for the cost. That cost is there, and for that right material, right selection of the material, right designing thermal calculations are there, should be there, and right vendor should be there for your plant. And then space requirement is also high for this paddy based straw based power plant, because the bulk density is hardly 0.1 is there in the compact form. In case of coal, the coal bulk density is in the range of 0.7, 0.8. So coal and the solid fuels are nearly 7 times more dense than this rice straw. In straw in the bale form, it is loose form. It is in also in the 0.03, 0.04, something like that. Is there the bulk density? So I'm just sharing my figures of that newly commissioned plants in this in the Punjab, Faridkot, and Firozpur 18 megawatt plant. That we are till date we have generated 170 gigawatt hours in the Firozpur plant and 185 gigawatt in this Faridkot plant, and PLF in the range of 84 to 87%, and we have consumed till that time is 0.29 million tons in the Firozpur and zero point 0.3 is a Faridkot, and total this greenhouse gas reduction is of 54,000 in this one and 58,000 in the Faridkot plant. I'm just sharing one upgradation of the one cost benefit analysis of the biomass project. If you want to upgrade your old plant having capacity of nearly 10 to 15 megawatt, so old plants, if you go with that one, year that if you are adding additional capital cost of that one, nearly 71 crores, and having a PL of 91 to 9, the revised PLF of 92%, and the gain is of the PLF, then existing on the boil efficiency gain is also there. Due to wrong technology selection, the efficiency also low. You will get a lot of losses are there in the dry flue gas loss, unburned losses are there. Different losses are there in that one. So that gain in the boiler efficiency, and then you gain in the specific steam consumption the turbines, because if you go with the high cycle of that one, that is going to implement that also. Just a minute. So if you say the total saving is coming out to be nearly 31 crores, and it is ROA is 2.3, and in that case, if you're upgrading that one, IRR in the range of 4 to 5 years is there. So I'm thank you all of you for patience listening, and special thanks to Mr. Ashwani Kumar, DG Mission Energy Foundation, and this is my contact details, and you can contact me anytime.
Thank you, Mr. Sinha. Mr. Sinha, we have a few questions for you. I would like to show them on the screen. I'll be very happy if you can answer them.
Yeah. Yeah. So this fly is generated during burning of the biomass, because the biomass is a very good. It is having very nutrition value of that one, and that nutrition value is very helpful for that the farmers, and that they are utilizing for their as a fertilizer and for they are using for that.
Thank you, sir. There's another question that I would like to show you on the screen. There you go.
Yeah. So if you want to install new 18 megawatt power plant with the art of technology and full proven, so because now the steel prices are it's on very high side. So for that, if you want to install that new greenfield project, this project will cost nearly 120 to 130 crores on that one, and depends upon the state to state also. Some states are not allowing groundwater, and some are not. There is seasonal water availability is there. So water is one of the factors is also there, because although we are going for air cooled condenser type of power plant in the Rajasthan, and but in case of Haryana also, both the plants are of 15 megawatt is also air cooled condenser, but some waters are also required. In case of Haryana, this our two sites are there, which is Kathal and Kurukshetra. Water availability is hardly 60 days in a year. So we had to make big reservoirs for the water storage, and that water resource is only canal waters. So that cost is there, capital cost is there, and for that land is requirement is there. So it's depends. What I can say that if you want to install 18 megawatt biomass power plant with the art of technology, you should have a kitty of 120 to 150 crores minimum. So that this will be a workable solution will be there.
Great. Thank you, sir. So that brings us to the end of the presentation of Mr. Sinha as well. Any questions you have, now is the time. You can pose them to Mr. Sinha or Colonel Malhan on the chat box in the Q&A session. You can raise your hand and I'll pull you up on the screen so that you can have a chat with the gentleman that we see here. In the meantime, to get to that point, sir, I would be very happy to put up a question that I was very intrigued to ask, and I'll let both of you decide if you want to answer that. So, the percentage of energy requirements and consumption that are happening on the planet right now, biomass energy is a small fraction of it. How do you see in the next 2 decades that energy spectrum shifting from the conventional methods to the biomass methods or any other methods in the next 1 or 2 decades? How do you see the percentage shifting?
What I can say that in next 2 decades, we will touch nearly 15% of that one, because we are in the range of 1% hardly.
Right.
And because available biomass is there, and that conversion to the power and the heat and the technology and everything, so it will take time. Because if you see that Europeans also, uh, they are also not in a very big manner in the especially in the biomass usage. They are installing 5 to 10 megawatt power plant nearby to each cities for that biomass, as well as that different this municipal waste for this to power conversion. So, because in the next 2 decades, the power demand for the India will be in the same growth rate what it is present condition. So, I think if we'll be able to achieve 15% after 20 years also, then it will be remarkable achievement from the biomass sector.
Wow, thank you, Mr. Sinha. Colonel Malhan, any thoughts on that?
So yeah, the potential is there. The potential is huge, as we all are aware. There are certain bottlenecks which need to be kind of ironed out. Financing is a very big part, which even Mr. Ved had touched upon. We need to have the finances available for, especially if you're talking about sustainability aspects, then you have to go in with the, agriculture residue waste. It's a very important component of this mix. For that, the aggregation has to be done in a very short span. So the finance has to be available. The technologies are shaping up, and we are getting there. But then the proven technologies in terms of 2G ethanol, which is going to be a big consumer of this biomass, the proof of the pudding is in eating it, and the plants are still being set up. CBG plants of, let us say, when we talk about paddy straw, which is one of the major concerns that we have today, the plants are again coming up. So it's going to be interesting space to look at maybe in the next couple of years to see how the sector is going to shape up when these big players who are going to consume this biomass are up and running in terms as far as technology is concerned. So that's the way I would like to put it.
For that, I want to add something more on that same Sumit, what has told that. Because financial, especially if you talk about the financial part of that one, if I'll take that Punjab or Haryana, it's a lot of pollutions are there, especially in these winters after the paddy straw burning of that one. So if you see that nearly 250 lakhs tons of that paddy straw is available in the field, and there is no demand for that. So, and farmers, and if you say that demand is hardly 10% of that one of the total available of that. So rest of the 90% there is no demand. So what the farmer is going to do? Okay, so there should be some system, some demand should be there so that they will utilize that one. And for that, if you consider for this nearly 200 lakh tons also, for that operational cost for the conversion of that one, the 4,000 crore is required for next for that 1.5 months for that. For that 4,000 crore, who is going to pay for that? That is OPEX is there. So that type of one side is capital cost is there, another side is of 4,000 crores requirement for that handling of that biomass. And second thing, that some government organization institution should be there to mitigate these financial problems to take care of that one. And second thing, that government agencies and all the government agencies should be towards this type of usage also for the promotion of that one. So it should not like okay, there should be change in the policy, and there should, if somebody has installed some invested something and installed the power plant, and after sometimes you are changing the different PPAs and changing the tariff of that one. So that is not going to give the encouragement to the different promoters. So for the benefit of the system, ecosystem, what I'm talking about, for that, everybody should work in integration. What I have shown in the chart, that different promoters, financial institutions, and are there, technology providers are there, MNREs are there, nodal agencies are there, and state electricity boards are there. So, and then always there is a problem with this, what you committed, what you signed the PPA, and then after some time there is change on that one and deviation in the agreement of that one, and that is getting a lot of problems. That has to be solved properly for that proper solution of that one. And regarding that percentage of that one, what I can say that this self power consumption is there in that biomass. It is if you are going with the water cooled condenser of that is 10 to 11% is there, and in that case, air cooled condenser auxiliary power consumption in the range of 12 to 13%. That is it.
Thank you, gentlemen. I do not have any other questions from the audience. So, if Colonel, you have any questions for Mr. Sinha, or Mr. Sinha, you have any questions for Colonel, we can have that, or I think we should end the session if we do not have anything else.
Thank you. I'm good, and it's been a pleasure speaking here and interacting with Vedji as well as the audience here. And thank you so much for the opportunity, Ravin. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So especially once again, I'm thanking you to this foundation, for this Energy Mission Foundation, for coordinating this type of seminars and conferences, and especially Ashwini Kumarji, thank you very much for doing this job, and Robin also, thank you very much for entertaining, and thank you very much Sumiji for having a recording with that one. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. The pleasure is truly ours. We do need conversations like this going forward in the future, and you both are torch bearers of your industry. So we truly thank you for your valuable time and the insights that you provided on Gasification India. Thank you so much once again for being here.
Anytime we are available with you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of our session now. We'll be moving on to a networking lunch. I would be very happy for you all to join in on the tables and get the conversation going. We'll join back with the next session at exactly 2. And we'll be talking about implementing clean energy recovery technologies and much more. So with that, I would like to thank all of you once again for being here with us. And we'd be very happy for you all to join in at 2 o'clock. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.